Coming up next on Absolute Artistry, it's all about the kids this week. We're showcasing Chicago youth in the arts. And here's what's coming up on tonight's show. First, we'll meet the teens who created this fabulous mural, all in the name of unity. Then we'll check out a great kids show. It's called Opera in Focus, opera performances with animated rod puppets. Then Norman Mark talks to a young star who's turning Tinseltown upside down. All of that is coming up next on Absolute Artistry. Well, you know, a puppet show is just a puppet show. That is, until you've seen puppets performing opera. It's all a part of Opera in Focus, a show that uses one-of-a-kind handmade rod puppets to perform opera and introduce that art form to children. Our David Vigiano gives us a closer look.
Ah, the many challenges of being a parent. How about this one? Get your kids to turn off Ricky Martin or Britney Spears and start listening to a little opera. Okay, after you finish laughing, pay attention, because I just may have found a way to make it happen, if only for an hour.
Opera in Focus presents hour-long programs of various scenes from well-known operas. It was developed to appeal to young audiences, as well as adults, who might not otherwise have the chance to experience an opera in performance.
That was the concept right from the start, to offer famous scenes from opera to youngsters and adults in a program about an hour long. And then the name itself suggested the proscenium, the circle, and that a scrim effect, so that a scene would appear as these lights in front faded away, and then at the end it fades away behind and the lights come up in the front. So it was Opera in Focus. I find it's more comfortable for our audiences that are not opera buffs, you know. I love opera, but not everybody does.
You give them a little taste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A dose of culture. There goes the magic.
Bill Foster has worked professionally with puppets since he was 14 years old. His experience spans more than half a century.
When I was about 14, I learned about the Scandinavian restaurant in Chicago called the Kungsholm. And I went down there and I got a job for the summer. And they had a whole repertory of about 12 operas. And that's when I really got a full exposure to the whole thing.
And he passes on the tradition to another whose interest also began at an early age. Master puppeteer Mark Boudreau will soon be 18. He began his work with Opera in Focus at age 12.
These are for you, my dear. Take a bow.
Foster worked professionally for years in art direction and set decoration for motion pictures. His experience shows in the beauty and the ornate detail of the puppets and the settings, all of which he designs and builds himself. Fellow master puppeteer and co-producer Paul Guerra designs and builds all of the costumes and wigs for the puppets with the same flair and impeccable eye for detail. Foster invented the rod puppets used in the performance, the only ones of their kind in the world. Though the puppets move with ease and grace, the mechanisms are very complicated, especially when trying to maneuver them while sitting on small stools with wheels underneath the stage.
Other places only make me know you best. Tell me you're the heart of all the golden ways.
So you can give us a little demonstration of how the puppets work?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Who do we have?
We have Jeanette MacDonald from the Pops. This is the only rod puppet opera in the world.
What makes a rod puppet unique from other puppets that we may see?
Well, there are other rod puppets, but the rod puppet operates from below the floor, and then in this case with a great deal of mechanism and support equipment. If I take with my thumb and move this lever, I'm moving her head from side to side. And then if I pull this ring here, I can make her head nod. And if I pull the ring further, she's going to bow to you. Now, if I take the rods and lift them up, they're attached to the puppet's arm. And if I turn the handle at the end of the rod, I can turn her hand outward, or I can turn it inward. And of course, this base sits in the tracks in the stage floor to hold them up. And if we want, we can disengage them from it so that they can kneel and sit and bow, as you saw them do today.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thanks for the
Take
little
a bow, Jeanette. There you go.
Great show today.
You're welcome. You're very lucky.
Perhaps the most amazing part of Opera in Focus is that you marvel at both the simplicity and the intricacy of the puppets.
When you hear puppet show, it's not it's a misnomer, and yet I'm very proud of puppetry. But to say it's a puppet show, people come in and usually they come back and say, "Oh, this isn't like any puppet show I ever saw,"
Oh, I'm sure.
and it isn't.
It's a truly unique experience that keeps both the kids and the adults enthralled and entertained.
What do you want the audience to get out of their experience when they see the show?
I want them to get a taste of what opera is like, with the hope that they'll go on down to lyric and see what the real thing is.
For Absolute Artistry, I'm David Vigiano.
You can catch Opera in Focus year-round at the Rolling Meadows Park District on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Well, that about does it for us this week on Absolute Artistry and our special kids edition. Thank you so much for joining us. And also a big thank you to the Chicago Children's Museum for hosting us this week. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, feel free to write to us at Absolute Artistry, WYCC-TV, 226 West Jackson, Chicago, Illinois, 60606. We'll see you next time. I'm Jean Sparrow. Good night.